Most people believe the solution lies in controlling their reactions. They try to cool their anger after it explodes, push away fear once it appears, or manage frustration only after it has already taken over. But true mastery doesn't come from reacting better. It comes from rebuilding your inner system entirely. When your mind is grounded in reason and self-discipline, chaos can surround you without ever reaching the center of who you are. The strength that comes from this kind of control is quiet, intentional, and deeply freeing. Every insult, every challenge, every moment of conflict becomes less about what happens around you and more about how you carry yourself within. The Stoics believed this inner fortress was the only true place of peace, untouched by circumstances. By developing that resilience, by learning to observe without being dragged into the storm, you move through life with greater clarity and purpose. You stop giving away your energy to things outside your control. Calm, steady, and almost invisible, this strength stays with you, shaping your presence without demanding attention. The process begins by noticing the spark before it turns into fire. A careless comment, a quick glance, a small gesture. Any of these can create tension if left unchecked. But a mind trained to observe creates space between what happens and how it responds. Even a brief pause creates freedom, a moment to choose instead of react, to step out of the current and decide your own direction. That pause isn't avoidance, it's awareness. It's a conscious decision to take ownership of your inner world, where clarity shapes your thinking and intention guides your actions. Most people live in constant reaction, often without realizing what triggers their inner chaos. A word, a look, a subtle action. Suddenly the mind catches fire. Thoughts race, muscles tighten, the heartbeat speeds up. But this isn't our natural state. It comes from unexamined habits, from allowing the mind to run on autopilot. Stoic thinkers understood long ago that events themselves do not disturb us. Our judgments about them do. Every wave of anger or irritation appears because something entered without being questioned. But a trained mind can create distance between what happens outside and how it responds inside. Even the smallest pause carries freedom. It's the difference between being swept away by the current and standing on the shore, choosing where you want to go. And that pause isn't avoidance. It's presence, a conscious act of taking control over your inner world. When the mind pauses, clarity begins to enter. The insult loses its power. The provocation starts to fade. Tension shifts into observation, and suddenly you are no longer controlled by circumstances around you. You begin to respond with intention instead of reacting on impulse. In that pause, hidden motives become easier to recognize. The emotions behind words and actions start to reveal themselves. The patterns that once pulled you from peace into frustration become visible. By noticing these patterns, the mind creates distance. It steps back, sees the rhythm behind events, and opens the possibility of choosing a different response. Real power doesn't come from controlling the world around you. It comes from mastering yourself. When people try to provoke you, they find nothing to grab onto. No reaction, no control, no satisfaction. And that silence isn't weakness. It's discipline. Its impact often runs deeper than any loud display of power ever could. Developing this pause requires awareness and repetition. In the beginning, the change may feel small, almost impossible to notice, but every moment strengthens the ability to remain steady. By recognizing tension as it rises, by noticing the impulse without immediately giving into it, the mind slowly increases the space between what happens and how it reacts. Every pause becomes a statement of self-control, a quiet break away from the automatic habits that once ruled you. The world rewards speed and instant reaction, but real mastery lives in thoughtful response. People who learn to exist in this space move through life with a calmness that feels unexpected to others. Relationships begin to change, not because people around them become different, but because their responses become different. Arguments lose their automatic intensity. Decisions that were once clouded by emotion become clearer. Power begins to grow naturally through presence instead of force, creating influence that is quiet but undeniable. Over time, this practice changes the way you see the world and interact with it. Words that once had the power to hurt you now drift by like leaves moving across water. Emotions that once controlled your thinking are no longer absorbed automatically. They are simply observed. The mind, no longer trapped by automatic reactions, becomes a place of deliberate choice. Even repeated attempts to provoke you struggle to break through a strengthened inner foundation. Every interaction becomes another opportunity to practice discipline and reinforce self-control. And presence itself becomes a form of influence. People notice the composure. They notice the steadiness. They notice the quiet confidence. Attempts to manipulate or provoke you begin to lose their power. The person who consistently practices this discipline moves through life with greater clarity, makes decisions through reflection, and shapes the world around them by first mastering the world within. If you want to continue sharpening your mind and strengthening this practice, subscribing is more than just pressing a button. It's a conscious decision to invest in awareness, self-mastery, and presence. You choose to engage with ideas that expand your perspective and strengthen the inner foundation from which all action begins. It's a quiet but meaningful choice, one that aligns with the pursuit of clarity and lasting freedom, a commitment to seeing the world without being carried away by it. At its core, developing a pause between what happens and how you respond is an act of self-ownership. It aligns your thoughts, perceptions, and emotions with intention, creating a mind capable of moving through complexity without becoming overwhelmed. The Stoics understood something powerful. The obstacle often becomes the path itself. In this case, the challenge of automatic reaction becomes an opportunity for mastery. Every intentional pause, every moment of observation before immediate action, strengthens the structure of a mind that is steady, free, and guided by choice rather than impulse. Over time, people who once felt controlled by the actions of others become architects of their own inner world, unshaken by chaos and capable of responding with clarity, wisdom, and purpose. As this practice becomes part of daily life, the transformation doesn't remain internal. It begins to show itself externally. People notice an unhurried calm. They notice a thoughtful presence. They notice someone who listens before speaking and responds without rushing. These qualities, developed through awareness and consistent practice, begin to change the nature of interactions. Attempts at manipulation lose their effect. Attempts to provoke lose their power. Influence no longer comes from quick reactions, but from the steady practice of thoughtful observation. Through this process, a person develops a quiet psychological strength, a presence that earns respect without demanding it, creates influence without force, and discovers a form of freedom that extends beyond the individual and into every relationship. This is not about suppressing emotion or disconnecting from life. It's about engaging with precision. It's the intentional shaping of your inner environment so that perception, judgment, and action are guided by reason rather than impulse. By training yourself to create space between stimulus and reaction, you gradually reshape habitual thinking, weaken the power of provocation, and build a foundation for consistent, thoughtful, and strategic action. Over time, this creates an inner structure strong enough to withstand outside turbulence, allowing clearer thinking, greater freedom, and a way of living that feels grounded, stable, and deeply influential. Most of us spend our lives believing that what happens to us determines how we feel. Every insult, every interruption, every perceived offense feels like an invitation to react. And too often, we react before we even realize what triggered us. The untrained mind automatically assumes it sits at the center of everything. It believes every word, every action, and every interaction is directed personally at it. But Stoicism teaches something different. Life presents events, not meanings. The meaning comes from us. And when you create even a small amount of distance, the patterns hidden beneath people's behavior begin to reveal themselves. The harsh comment is no longer a personal attack. It becomes a signal. The dismissive look is no longer a rejection. It becomes a clue to the emotions and intentions behind it. From this perspective, the confusion of social interactions starts to make sense. It becomes less threatening, less overwhelming, and far easier to navigate. This isn't detachment in the sense of not caring. It's a deliberate shift in perspective, a choice to observe rather than absorb, To witness instead of becoming wounded by every experience? The power of observation comes from its ability to transform experience into understanding. What once felt personal now becomes information. Disrespect is no longer a painful strike. It becomes a reflection of someone's intentions and behavior patterns. Another person's anger becomes something to understand, not something to mirror. As the mind develops this perspective, reactions begin to slow down and clarity begins to emerge. The immediate urge to respond starts losing its power, replaced by a calm and thoughtful assessment. You begin noticing the subtle moments that often appear before conflict arrives. The tone of voice that reveals impatience. The small gesture that hints at frustration. The rhythm of a conversation that quietly exposes someone's agenda. By paying attention with curiosity instead of defensiveness, interactions stop feeling like battles. They become opportunities to understand people more deeply. You no longer see a personal attack. You see a map of human behavior. And within that space, you stop being a reactive participant. You become a deliberate observer, capable of influencing situations through calm presence rather than force. Learning to live from this perspective takes practice because the mind naturally resists letting go of its automatic interpretations. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, even unnatural. The feeling of being under attack is deeply conditioned, and the impulse to defend yourself, explain yourself, or strike back appears quickly. But every moment you pause, every moment you observe, every moment you choose your response instead of surrendering to reaction, you become stronger. By stepping away from the story created by provocation, you reclaim control over yourself. You decide which situations deserve your energy and which deserve none at all. This discipline transforms emotional effort into something you manage instead of something imposed on you by circumstances. And over time, as this practice deepens, you discover a quiet freedom, the freedom of no longer being controlled by other people's judgments, the hidden advantage of becoming unpredictable, not through manipulation, but through intentional action. The shield created by this practice becomes both protection and strength. Calm is no longer something you perform to hide weakness. It becomes the natural state of a mind trained in awareness and discernment. You begin moving through the world with the understanding that provocation is someone else's choice, not your obligation. Situations that once triggered automatic frustration now become opportunities for observation. You notice intentions, you recognize patterns, and you choose your path with purpose and precision. The energy that once fueled endless cycles of reaction becomes available for something more meaningful, for thoughtful action, for intentional expression, for careful intervention, or for consciously walking away. This isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about leading them with understanding, making sure your responses are guided by reason rather than habit. By observing without absorbing emotional energy, you maintain control over your inner world while navigating the outside world with greater skill. From this perspective, human behavior starts becoming easier to understand. When you stop rushing into immediate reactions, you begin noticing repeated patterns, hidden motives, and unconscious behaviors in the people around you. You start recognizing the difference between genuine concern, subtle manipulation, and simple frustration expressed through habit. The clarity gained from this perspective creates action that feels natural instead of reactive. You speak when speaking matters. You remain silent when silence carries more value. And you walk away when engagement no longer serves a purpose. Every decision becomes intentional. Every action becomes measured. Every word becomes deliberate. This practice develops a form of influence that doesn't depend on force, intimidation, or control. Instead, it grows through consistency, through composure, through insight. People eventually realize that attempts to provoke you lead nowhere, not because they fear you, but because there is nothing to gain. No leverage, no control, no emotional reaction to feed on. And this practice creates something deeper than emotional control. It creates freedom. When your inner state is no longer dictated by outside events, clarity begins to appear. Situations that once felt threatening become opportunities to understand. Anger and criticism stop becoming burdens and start becoming information. information that sharpens perception and strengthens judgment. As once observed, the person with the greatest power is the one who has power over himself. By choosing observation over absorption, you build a form of mental resilience that protects and strengthens you at the same time. But this resilience isn't rigid, it's flexible, responsive, deeply rooted in reason. The mind learns when to fully engage and when to step back strategically. And that ability to move between engagement and distance creates a presence that is difficult to shake, resistant to manipulation, and capable of influencing outcomes through calm authority. The long-term impact of maintaining this perspective is powerful. Over time, the patterns within your relationships and interactions begin to change, quietly but significantly. People who once tried to provoke you or disturb your peace begin realizing that their efforts no longer work. Your internal discipline starts expressing itself outwardly, shaping situations without needing force or attention. Influence becomes a result of clarity, of intentional action, of refusing to waste energy on unnecessary reactions. The mind, no longer trapped by the feeling of being personally attacked, moves through relationships and environments with greater control and purpose. Emotional energy is no longer spent on defending yourself or seeking retaliation. Instead, it becomes directed toward understanding, intention, and meaningful action. The practice of observing without absorbing becomes a kind of internal shield, one that offers freedom, insight, and a form of influence rooted in calm mastery rather than control. At its deepest level, removing yourself from emotional triggers becomes an act of self-leadership. By observing instead of absorbing, by analyzing instead of reacting, by responding with intention instead of impulse, you reclaim control over your own mind. Every insult, every criticism, every attempt to provoke you stops becoming a source of emotional chaos and starts becoming a source of information. And through consistent practice, observation becomes natural. Emotional energy becomes a tool. You begin moving through life with a presence that is steady, clear, and quietly powerful. This isn't about building walls against the world. It's about building freedom within yourself, a conscious practice of discipline, a way of moving through life without losing your center in the middle of external chaos. As this practice grows stronger, something else begins to happen. People notice it. Relationships change. Conflict becomes easier to manage. Your ability to navigate difficult social situations grows stronger and more precise. Emotional self-mastery stops being an idea and becomes visible through your actions, your words, and the way people experience your presence. Repeatedly choosing observation over absorption develops insight, clarity, and influence that emerge naturally from a disciplined mind. Through this process, you develop a kind of freedom that exists both internally and in your relationships with others. A calm presence in the middle of uncertainty. A quiet influence that isn't forced, aggressive, or demanding, but deeply effective. At first, this practice can feel unnatural. The mind wants certainty. It wants a single emotional story that perfectly matches what it sees. But human behavior is far more complicated than that. People rarely communicate with complete consistency. They rarely reveal their intentions all at once. And a mind limited to only one emotional state struggles to navigate that complexity. But when you train yourself to remain calm while staying alert, relaxed while fully aware, detached while still completely present, you begin operating from a place that many people struggle to understand. People are left trying to understand only small pieces of you. They see fragments, moments, partial signals, but they never gain access to the full picture. And because they cannot fully map your reactions, they cannot easily gain influence or control over you. But maintaining this balance isn't passive, it's active discipline, a conscious alignment of attention, perception, and awareness. The mind must remain watchful, noticing the subtle rise of old habits and automatic reactions while protecting the deliberate awareness you have built. Every time you practice this successfully, you strengthen the structure of your presence. You reinforce your ability to engage with intention while staying grounded internally. Over time, what once required effort begins to feel natural. The balance between calm observation and active engagement starts working together effortlessly. You move through difficult situations without revealing everything happening beneath the surface. Your responses become thoughtful, measured, intentional, not automatic. And the effect of this presence extends far beyond individual moments. Social dynamics begin changing around you. People often expect one of two things: predictability or emotional volatility. But they encounter neither, and that creates hesitation. It creates recalibration. It changes the entire rhythm of the interaction. Influence begins appearing naturally without force or demands, not because you are trying to control people, but because composure, subtlety, and depth carry their own power. By consistently holding multiple states of awareness at once, you become a stabilizing force within social situations. You shape interactions through observation, awareness, and carefully chosen engagement, rather than through pressure or dominance. This approach ensures that your energy is used intentionally, that your attention is directed consciously, and that your inner stability remains protected, even in complicated situations. The practical value of this skill becomes obvious. Conversations become clearer. Decisions become stronger. Negotiations become situations where you can operate without being trapped by expectations or manipulation. You don't protect yourself by disappearing. You protect yourself through controlled presence. Every layer of awareness and calm strengthens your ability to remain steady, to think clearly, and to influence situations quietly but effectively. By developing this dual presence, you move beyond ordinary patterns of reaction. You become someone who participates fully without surrendering control. The mind becomes both protected and empowered, able to take in information without being overwhelmed by it, able to engage without losing itself, able to influence without needing to dominate. And over time, something important happens. The contradiction begins disappearing. The mind no longer struggles to balance different states because discipline has made them natural. Calm, awareness, attention, engagement, all existing together at once, creating a presence that becomes difficult to predict, difficult to manipulate, and remarkably effective in navigating people and life itself. People begin noticing something they can feel but struggle to explain. They sense depth, steadiness, unshakable focus, but they don't fully understand what creates it. That is the quiet power of inner balance. Influence without forcing it, adaptability without losing yourself, presence that earns respect without demanding it. At its core, developing these layered emotional states becomes an exercise in freedom. By learning to hold multiple internal perspectives at the same time, you become less vulnerable to outside control, less predictable to those who seek to manipulate, more grounded in a form of clarity that quietly shapes everything around you. Complexity becomes protection, unpredictability becomes a tool, composure becomes influence. The mind that operates this way is no longer controlled by circumstances or weakened by the intentions of others. Instead, it moves through life with calm confidence, clarity, and quiet authority, shaping outcomes through observation, discipline, and thoughtful engagement while maintaining an inner state that remains steady, adaptable, and self-directed. Through practice, reflection, and intentional development, a person who masters this approach creates a presence that feels both visible and untouchable, fully engaged, yet emotionally grounded, attentive, yet impossible to completely define. Every interaction strengthens awareness. Every experience sharpens observation. Every challenge expands the ability to engage strategically. And by learning to hold multiple emotional states without becoming divided by them, the mind develops a subtle but powerful strength. The ability to respond intentionally, to influence outcomes without force, to remain balanced no matter how chaotic the outside world becomes. And this goes beyond a simple skill. It changes the way presence itself is expressed. Because every movement, every expression, every small shift in body language communicates something to the people around us, whether we realize it or not. A smile can reveal admiration. A tightened jaw can reveal frustration. A quick flash in the eyes can reveal excitement or victory. These small signals become information, maps that people use to understand what is happening inside us. And every reaction becomes an opening, a path through which understanding or manipulation can enter. Most people move through conversations unconsciously giving these signals away. They believe their reactions are automatic, harmless, and insignificant. But without realizing it, they reveal patterns. They reveal emotional pressure points. They reveal vulnerabilities. And people around them learn to read them. But when you begin viewing reactions as choices rather than automatic responses, something powerful changes. What was once a rushed response to praise or an instant reaction to criticism now passes through awareness first, through understanding, through intention. The same emotional energy once spent chasing validation, frustration, or momentary victories becomes something different. Something protected, something measured, something used only when it truly serves a purpose.